Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be here because today we will talk with you about horror stories. I'm a fan of horror stories and films. I have a lot of my favorite authors in this genre, and of course I wanted to recommend you today the wonderful stories which would be really perfect reading for horror season. And today we will tell with you about 13 positions. Why positions, not books? Because in some positions would be series or trilogies, and it would be really great to just deep inside the stories and have fun with reading and have some horror and just sometimes feeling that somebody just behind your back. So let's start today with an interesting story which a lot of people say that connect with reality, but others say that it's not true, it's fake. It's the Amityville horror. It's story about the house, and I'm a fan of really some wicked houses, because in this story we will have house and a family in a past line, and something happened with them. I mean, the man from the family, he took the gun and shot everybody in his family, and he just killed himself in the basement, and nobody actually know what happened, what was the point of these things. And after the period, in reality, in our time, a new family just decided to buy this house and just spend some time there, but they started to have some fear moment about their feelings about things which happen in this house with some sounds. And in one moment the wife started to think that her husband is not her husband anymore. So it's really great story for just starting the full season, and I think it would be just a great starting atmospheric book. So the next one, Stephen King and the Salem Slot. It's one of my favorite stories of Stephen King. I'm a fan of this author, if you're on my channel, and I want to tell you that Salem Slot, it's something really horrible, dark, wicked, and sometimes you just start to feel that really somebody just behind on your back. The story tells us about a small town, Salem Slot, and in this town we have a strange house, and the main character, writer, he just came back after some period of time to this town for refreshing his memory about one thing which he saw when he was a child, and he decided to rent this strange house and try to find the answers on his questions. But in one moment people in the town start to tell him that something horrible happened, and something really scary happened with the people who died, because after death they just came back and they started to speak with the people. They start to just scratching the windows, just knocking the door, just trying to come into the house. And with the people who actually wasn't dead, something happened badly. I'm really fan of this story. It's so dark, so if you wanted to have something dark and which connect with the houses, so just pay your attention to Salem Slot if you haven't read this one. The next one, Jennifer McMahon, The Night Sister, the story which connect with a small remote hotel, because in the beginning we have a story about the family, about the owners of the hotels, and in one moment the lady just took the gun, and she also just decided to kill everybody in her family. But the small girl, she survived, and she spent some moments in the balcony, and she just heard what happened with her family and what her mom did. When she started to be adult, she decided to find the answers on the questions, and also the lady, when she killed everybody in her family before her death, she wrote a note about the 29 room, but the girl actually sure that in this hotel only 28 rooms. So it would be also the suspense mystery thing, and she need to find the answers for this quest about the 29th room. A really interesting story. It's really dark and gloomy and so twisty. The next position, it would be trilogy, and I was really a fan of this one. I have not played the computer game because this story about the computer games, and I just heard some small information about this one, and I knew that the main character of this one is like a bear robot, and something happened in the pizzeria cafe. So actually I talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, and I read the trilogy, the first trilogy about this wonderful story. It's the Silver Eyes, the Twisted Ones, and the Fourth Closet. And actually I didn't expect something unusual, something wow from this story. I just read the annotation of the first book and decided to buy all trilogy and just read the stories. And I was so shocked because I have enjoyed moment with this story. I was so excited about reading the next books after finishing the first one, and the story just give me moments that I'm not playing the computer game, or I'm not just reading a story about the computer game or based on something in the computer game. It was a unique story about something interesting, about teenagers, about their lives, about their badly moments which happened with them within the past. And also we have the main character girl who lived in this town. Something badly happened with her family, with her dad, and her dad was the owner of the pizzeria cafe Five Nights at Freddy's. And after some period of time, these teenagers decided to find this pizzeria, to visit it again, because now it's just devastated, nobody wanted to be there, it ended somewhere in the shopping mall. So the teenagers decided to go there, and this description of the old pizzeria cafe was perfectly for me for autumn, because it was so gloomy, dark, lightless, all these strange animatronic robots, something really interesting and unique. And if you wanted to have something like this, you need to pay attention to this trilogy. I know that there are a lot of stories in this series, but I don't want to actually read them, because this trilogy for me was really perfect, and I don't want to just spoil my emotions from reading this one, because the last book was so twisty for me, and after finishing it, I was just sitting looking at my wall without understanding how didn't I get something. How didn't I know something? Because I'm a thriller lover, detective lover, and I all the time try to play detective during the reading, but in this story I was just shocked from the last twist. So the perfect reading, it's just my high recommendation to you. It's the just easy reading and easily 5 stars. So today I have something strange with the sun. I have hello sun, I love you so much, but could you just be on the one position? So today we have horror books, and the sun decided to have sometimes gloomy and sometimes so light. It's okay. Let's talk with you about classical horrors, and of course I wanted to recommend you Bram Stoker and his Dracula. Dracula was the perfect reading for beginning of the horror season, because it was really interesting. The plot was really interesting. Of course it's so classical, of course it's so romanticized in one moment, but I love the descriptions when the main character just came to the castle of Dracula because he needed to do some things there, and he met the old man who just looks like a usual person, but sometimes he started to notice some bad things which happened with this man, because he just can see him at the night, not in the daytime. He just the main character have breakfast, but the owner of this castle no. So it was really great. And after the half of the story, when we have a lot of descriptions about castles, about vampires, about Dracula, I felt, you know, the smell of something badly, of something unnatural, and I really was interested in how it happened through the book, because I have so excited emotions about reading, because I love the story, and also I felt such strange feelings with my body, like strange smellings. So it was really cool reading, and I really appreciate that Bram Stoker just decided to write this classical, wonderful horror story, and we can read this in our time, in our present. So the next one, The Call of Cthulhu, it's not one story, it's the book which have some short stories, and actually short stories give me more the moments than it would be just the one novel. We have different stories about different creatures, different places, different actually unnatural things which can happen with people, with some supernatural moments which can happen with the people, and I was really love some of these short stories, but other short stories were really horrible. I was scared, and actually I wanted to tell you, just don't read these short stories at the night time, because probably you would be scared too, because I was reading this story when I was in a vacation, and of course I had a lot of free time, and I love to read this one at the night time. So it wasn't a good idea, because sometimes some moments were really scary. The next story, also classical, it's Maria Corelli and Ziska, The Problem of a Wicked Soul. It's small novel, but it's so interesting and it's so mystical, because we have a strange lady, Ziska, and she's so beautiful, she's so great, she's like a goddess, and everybody just thinks that she's so perfect, and most of the time people just see her on some parties, on some dinners, and she all the time looks really perfect. And we have another line with the artist, the man, and in one moment he just saw Ziska and he decided to make her portrait and some connection with her because he just fell in love. So actually this story started like a usual classical story about people, about their daytime, about their hobbies, about this time spending, but after some moment you just can't understand why, but the story starts to be so supernatural and so mystical, and it's so really twisty at the end. I was just in a bit wonderful shock when I was reading the finishing line of the story, because I actually didn't expect it, what I will have there. And I wanted to recommend you this story if you like really classical mystical stories which you can understand real or not, can you believe what happened or not, is it real, something mystical or not. So if you like this one, you need to just try to read this one. But I just wanted to give you some notice, and yeah, that the beginning is so classy and the ending is so supernatural. The next one, it's not classical story, but I'm really fan of this one, and I wanted to reread this one in one moment of my life when I will have more time, probably this fall. I need to think about this one more deeply. So it's Ernshaw, The Week Deep. Great story which really was so perfect for me in the fall horror season, because it consists everything which I really like. The strange legend which can happen 300 years ago about strange sisters which came to the city, and they decided to do something, and a lot of people start to think that they are witches, and of course they did some bad things with them. Some supernatural moments which connect with this legend in our reality, and also it's really cool to be on a such devastated landscape. It was a small town with a lighthouse. Our main character girl, she just lived near with the lighthouse on a small island, and every time when she needs to go to school, she just needs to go to the boat firstly and then to the bus. So all the atmosphere of the story was really gloomy, and through reading I just started to feel that you know, actually mist above the water, some shivering moments was most of the time with me. It's like, you know, I'm like a fog. I'm reading the story and I'm like a fog, just going somewhere without understanding what's going on. And of course I really love the moments with the supernatural and mystical moments with the sisters, because they have a legend that after this bad things which people did with them, that in the present time the souls of these three sisters just came out in one day and just tried to find some bodies for making some new killings. So perfect story. I was really enjoy this one. Next story is Brom, Last Gods. It was the first story which I read from this author, and I was really loved, and I just decided to read all of them. This story just connect with our reality, with the people which can live near with you, and actually I didn't expect that it would be so dark, it would be so horrible, and we with the main character just going to the underworld, try to do some quests. So the story begins from the story about the man who just after the prison decided to start a new life, especially because his girlfriend is pregnant, and they decided to just change the location and go to the grandma of this main character. But something bad happened with the granny, some bad things connect with her, with the place where she lives, and our main character just must go to the underworld for doing some quests to find the special key. And this way of our main character in the underworld was really interesting, and now when I'm reading The Dark Tower of Stephen King, I can see the same moments, the same lines, because the character starts to go from one place to another place, and on his way he just find some people, some information, some legends, some gods, some super creatures, and so on. So this a really wonderful story, and most of the time I had shivering on my back. So if you haven't tried books of Gerald Brom, home, just pay attention to Last Gods. Of course, I wanted to recommend you Neil Gaiman's book, and the first one would be Coraline. It's one of the favorite stories of Neil Gaiman. I'm fan. I watched a lot of time the cartoon. I read a lot of time stories. I'm fan of illustrations which we have in the books, illustrations which made Chris Riddell, and I think that it's a wonderful collaboration between the artist and the writer, because the stories and the pictures, they really are good, and when you just read the story and in one moment you just find the picture, you see like, yeah, it's really cool, because I think that Chris Riddell is perfect illustrator for Neil Gaiman's book. So I actually think that everybody knows about Coraline, but I wanted to recommend it because it's so perfectly for starting the horror season. It's a story about the girl which with the family just came to new city, and she started to feel so badly because she doesn't have friends, doesn't have other things which can give her so excitement about a new place, and in one moment she just found a small door in her new house, a small door to another reality where she can see that her mom and dad also there, but they changed. And you know, this other mother for me was really horrible with the buttons instead of her eyes, and the things which she actually did. And this other mother have the wish to stay together with Coraline in this another reality. And what would Coraline will do? The next story of Neil Gaiman, it's Neverwhere. It's an interesting story about London, but not London from our reality. And the story started from our reality in normal London, when the main character, after the bad things happen in his life, just came out from the bar and he found the injured girl near with the bar, and he started to understand that he needs to help her. After some moments he understood that her name is really strange because she is Door, and after some period she can stand that, yeah, she has superpower and she just can open some portals like doors somewhere to another reality, and the bad guys wanted to have her because of this special thing which she can do. And the way started. The adventure started because in one moment when the bad guys just decided to kill the main character and took the girl, she just put her last powerful things to the wall and opened the door to another reality, to London, under the London, and the adventure begins. We'll meet some different creatures, some different things, some bad happen situations with our main character, also horror and horrible things. All the story, it's like the mixing of horror and magical things. Especially we will have here some angels, and this line with angels was unexpected for me, and I was really enjoyed all the story. I love Neil Gaiman's story because you read them so fast, and it's really highly recommend books for everybody who just like some supernatural and mystical moments. Another story of Stephen King, it's Later, the story which I read in this year, and I was really excited about this one because the story about the boy who can see ghosts, who can see people who died, and the beginning was so funny because most of the time he knew these ghosts because they were his neighbors or other people who he knows, and they started to just have some fun moments, some jokes about people who just live, and it was really cool for understanding the plot of the story, the reality which can happen there, because it's our usual present time with this boy, and we just can see the first part that he just growing up, and after some period there would be some news about the bad guy who just like to bomb everything, and they have the information that he put the bomb somewhere but nobody knows where, and this man died. So our main character would have a quest to find the ghost of this man and try to connect with him. And the last big exposition, the 13th, it's a series of the book about supernatural. I'm a fan of supernatural show. I watched a lot of episodes, but I haven't finished this one because I just took a spoiler about the ending, and I decided that I will watch or maybe re-watch from the beginning the show after some years. There are 17 books in this series and I have read 13, so I have 4 books for finishing this series, and I'm really excited about every book which I have read. Of course, some of them I like more, some of them not, but the connection with the series is so perfect because I really feel the atmosphere, I feel the shivering moments which I had in some episodes when I watched them, because these books, they are not just a rewriting of some episodes from the show, it's the moments of new stories with the same characters, of course, with the main characters Sam and Dean Winchester, who are the brothers, and they just try to kill every supernatural monster. And I really love that when you take new story from the series, you just can understand what will you meet, what will you push you, what will you bump, because every time they are so twisty, they're so interesting. And what I like more from this series is that I try to use more internet, more encyclopedia pages about reading more about the some creatures, some monsters, because most of the time I actually have no idea what are they talking about, who's this monster, and it's really cool to give you a chance to find real legend which you can find in some encyclopedias. So the series is really perfect for fall season. If you haven't read them but you watched the series, you need to pay attention to books because they're different. Of course, sometimes the authors give you information about something which can happen in the show, and I really appreciate this one, because if you haven't watched the show, you easily can understand what's going on or what happened with brothers, what happened with the period, and it would be really cool to involve deeply to the story. So this series is my highly recommendation because I really enjoy them. I was really involved in the reading, and you know, actually when I take one book, it's a take for me just 1 day probably for reading, maximum 2, because they're so interesting, and you just don't want to leave the story because you really enjoy it. So today I told you about a lot of wonderful horror books, stories, short stories, and authors. And of course, I really recommend you all the stories. You should read them if you're not, because they are really masterpieces. I will wait your recommendations in the comments, because I also in searching some horror books for this horror season. So thank you for watching my videos. Bye!